New York Islanders prospect Cole Eiserman keeps making headlines both for his play on the ice and what he's saying as he skates off it. We've got that. Plus, was Patrick Roy's decision to pull the goalie in the closing seconds of the game against the Maple Leafs smart? We've got all that and more on today's Locked On Islanders podcast.
Your Locked On Islanders, your daily podcast on the New York Islanders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, everybody, to the Thursday edition of the Locked On Islanders podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I want to thank everyone who makes Locked On Islanders your first listen every day. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts so you get new episodes as soon as they drop. We have got a lot to get to on today's show, but let's start with a little encouraging news, and that involves New York Islanders top prospect Cole Eiserman. Eiserman, the first-round pick by the Islanders this year, continues to do a good job playing in the World Juniors, and both he, and Danny Nelson, another Islanders prospect, basically your second-round pick from 2023 and your first-round pick from 2024, both contributing to Team USA winning Group A and going 3-0-1 in the preliminary round. Right now, Eiserman has 2 goals and 4 assists in 4 games for Team USA. Meanwhile, Danny Nelson got the eventual game-winning goal for Team USA in their final match against Team Canada. And both players just seem to be playing extremely well right now in the World Juniors. Now, again, you can go back in hockey history and find a lot of players who really shined at the World Juniors and never made it in the NHL. And, of course, you could find the flip side, players who didn't particularly stand out in World Juniors and then went on to do well in the NHL 2-3 years later. So, take it with a grain of salt. But the bottom line is seeing both Eiserman and Nelson playing well against the top competition in the world at their respective age groups is something that Islander fans have to be happy and excited about. And Eiserman isn't just playing well on the ice. He's adding a little extra something off the ice as well. And in addition to producing, he's taunting the Team Canada bench in that game after he scores that goal. And, when they asked him about it after the game, Eiserman sort of kept it low key. He said, when he was asked what he said after saying something to the Canadian bench after getting congratulations from his teammates, he said, just probably stuff I shouldn't say on the mic. Good fun on the ice, and that stuff doesn't come off the ice, just on the ice. I like to be competitive and have fun. Well, this being the age of social media, some people read lips on the clip of what he said to Team Canada's bench, and apparently it was "attaboy, cowboy," followed by some kind of a word we're not allowed to say on the air here on the Locked On Network, and it was directed toward Easton Cowan of Team Canada, a first-round pick, ironically, of the Maple Leafs in 2023, whose nickname is Cowboy, and he was in the penalty box when Team USA scored that goal, and, Eiserman basically taunting him a little bit, and I don't have a problem with that, and I think it's even better that Eiserman sort of kept it low-key. When the media asked, he's like, hey, that stays on the ice. But, he added this. That's something that's storybook-like, something that you've dreamt of And, being able to beat Team Canada, obviously rated as one of the best, if not the best teams entering World Juniors, that is just a positive for the New York Islanders and for Eiserman. And it's just great to watch the kid do more and more good things. Now, keep in mind that there are still some limitations to Eiserman. Uh, you know, he had a goal and an assist against Canada, but he only played 8 minutes and 50 seconds. Whereas Danny Nelson had almost 18 minutes, 17:58. Danny Nelson scored the game winner. And today, Thursday, both of them will be on the ice for Team USA when they take on Switzerland in the quarterfinal round. Now, Team Sweden, which features goalie Marcus Gidloff of the Islanders. He's still being the backup. He hasn't really seen a lot of action, but Team Sweden also in the quarterfinals. They'll face Latvia today. So Gidloff at least on the roster, but not really playing. And, well, Jesse Nurmi on Team Finland for the Islanders. He had 3 shots on goal and was a +1 Tuesday night as Finland ended up beating Latvia 3-0. So 13 minutes and 46 seconds of ice time there. And that's how the Islanders prospects are doing at the World Juniors. But I like the confidence that Eiserman is illustrating. The fact that he's not afraid to mix it up a little verbally with the guys he's competing against, but he's keeping it classy by not taunting them directly in the media. Hey, going to keep it on the ice, not going to go there. I like the way he's handling these kinds of things. He's having fun with it, but he's not being abusive. He's competitive, but not a jerk. And I think it's a sort of a nice balance, a nice sweet spot for Eiserman and the Islanders prospects and Danny Nelson. Just great to see them shining so far in the World Juniors. And we'll keep an eye on Team USA and all the Islanders prospects as well, as long as they last in the World Juniors, which, hey, it's going to wrap up really soon, but an encouraging performance to say the least. And hopefully there's more to come before this tournament comes to a close. A little irony to sort of add under the circumstances, and maybe it speaks about where we're at in the media world and where the Islanders are at. But as of midnight January 1st, so midnight Wednesday morning / Tuesday night, MSG was removed from Optimum TV as the network and Optimum's parent company, Altice, are in a dispute over rates, basically. It's about money, surprise, right? So right now, if you have Optimum, you don't have access to MSG Network and any of the other MSG, MSG Plus, MSG2, all of those. You could still get it on the Gotham Sports app, but right now, this dispute is ongoing. And, from an Islanders perspective, that can't be particularly encouraging because it's hard enough to watch this team sometimes the way they play. But all joking aside, you want to have your product available to the people who want to watch it. And the fact that this dispute makes it harder for fans who want to see the Islanders play to watch the games cannot bode well. The worst thing that any company, and let's face it, the New York Islanders are a corporation that is in the entertainment business. Well, the worst thing you could have is indifference to your product and not having that product available to the people who kind of want to watch it but maybe getting a little discouraged by the quality of the product and the entertainment value of the product cannot bode well for this hockey team. So hopefully that gets straightened out soon. There are other alternatives to watch Islander games, depending on where you're located and what the blackout rules are with different streaming services. But bottom line, fans who want to watch these games, hopefully they'll be able to watch them soon and this dispute gets straightened out. But that's kind of where we're at right now with the television situation. And hopefully Optimum users will have this resolved sooner rather than later. All right, we have got a lot more to get to. We touched on, but didn't extensively discuss the move by Patrick Roy late in the game, New Year's Eve afternoon against the Maple Leafs, where he pulled the goalie with a faceoff in the Islanders zone in the closing seconds. So we're going to talk about that decision and what it says about the Islanders and their current situation and about Patrick Roy. We'll preview the third meeting between the Islanders and the Maple Leafs in the last couple of weeks, and the last meeting between these two teams on the year. And for our Islanders birthday of the day, a player who was with the Islanders for one season in 2010-2011 and led the NHL in penalty minutes that year with 307. Let's see if you can guess who this forward was or is. We've got all that and a whole lot more coming up on today's Locked On Islanders podcast. Today's episode is sponsored by Game Time. I love going to live events, whether it's sports, music, theater, or comedy. One of my favorite memories was attending a concert last year. The energy and excitement were unforgettable. Well, now Game Time has made it even easier to get tickets for your favorite events with their new feature, Game Time Picks. This feature filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. One of my favorite features on the Game Time app remains the view from your seat. You go on the app and you could see a panoramic view from your seat before you purchase the tickets, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. And the app's all-in pricing shows the total cost up front, so there's no surprise fees at checkout. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with a Game Time. Just download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. So again, we had a weird situation, or I don't know if weird, well, unusual situation. Let's put it that way. With the Islanders in the closing seconds of their game against the Maple Leafs on Tuesday afternoon. And what could I say? It was a power play for the Toronto Maple Leafs. The Islanders had a face-off in the defensive zone. And in that game, Patrick Roy decided to pull the goalie and just kind of go ahead with that decision. Well, was it wise? Probably not. And I get what he was trying to do. That I don't think was in dispute. To him, this was sort of a desperation situation. And the Islanders felt like, they had nothing to lose in trying to somehow tie the hockey game. I would not describe this as a wise move or as a high percentage move. To me, it was really just pure desperation. But I kind of understand that it says something about where the Islanders are at. And the Islanders, I think Patrick Waugh understands right now that this team, the way it's put together, is not going to be a real contender unless, some crazy things end up happening. And making that move late in the game, I think more or less was Patrick Waugh's understanding that I got nothing to lose here. This game, the odds of us winning it are very slim. And realistically, we have to figure out ways to do things. And basically what Waugh said more or less after the game was, hey, if we lose the faceoff, the game is over anyway. If we win the faceoff, then we've got at least even manpower on the ice, and we have a chance to go down the ice and try to set something up that would help this team tie the hockey game. And the fact that Waugh has always been a risk taker. That has sort of been his MO. He likes to pull the goalie, with the team down 3 goals with 9 minutes left in the game. How many times have we seen Waugh pull the goalie in a last-minute, last-ditch attempt to try to get his team back in the game? And most other coaches won't do that, so he doesn't mind being a little daring. But the fact that he has to keep doing these things, the fact that he understands how many times this team has struggled to score. And look, where are the Islanders right now? They are, at the present moment, 27th in the league in goals scored. They're only 23rd in the league in goals against. So you have a minus 21 goal differential. And you're in the bottom 6 in the league in goals scored, despite the fact that you've played 38 games. Overall, I think by making these moves, Waugh is essentially saying, I know this team, if I just play a smart, basic hockey game where, the book says to do this, so I'm going to do it. If it's all even, if I do everything the way it normally is done, we're not going to win consistently. So I have to try some desperation moves. I think Waugh was right in the sense that at that particular point in time, it wasn't a major difference. Yes, the Maple Leafs ended up scoring into the empty net. J.G. Pageau lost the faceoff, something that he didn't do all that often over the course of the season. But, it was a calculated risk, but it shows, in my opinion, the desperation that Waugh has when considering how to handle this hockey team. And, we've talked a lot, everydayers know, we've talked a lot on this show about possible tension between Patrick Waugh and Lou Lamoriello. And, Waugh has said, I love these guys, but I'm going to coach the team that Lou gave me. And that was sort of a big hint. And there have been a few other quotes over the course of the last month or so as this team has struggled that lead you to believe that they're not necessarily on the same page as far as how to build this team. The handling of Pierre Engvall, for example, the way certain players are either sitting out or playing, all of these things contribute to that overall picture. And I think right now, it is clear that the way this team is put together is not ideally what Patrick Waugh would like to see, that in his mind, his system works better with a different type of roster than what he's got. He wants more speed. He wants to play a certain way, and the players on this roster are not best equipped to do that. And he's sort of resigned to the fact that he's got to handle, make the best of a difficult situation. So overall, I don't think this was a smart move by Patrick Waugh. It was a desperation move by Patrick Waugh. But the fact that he was willing to make that desperation move speaks volumes to me about his attitude toward this team and this roster, where he thinks this team is, and really, again, reiterates and reinforces the fact that change has got to come to this roster, and it's got to come sooner rather than later. And again, this is going to be a pivotal year. The next 6-7 months between now and, let's say, July 15th, when we are done with free agency, or the first big wave of free agency this summer, it's going to be a huge, huge time for the Islanders that will determine whether or not they go into a long, difficult spiral that makes the retool and rebuild that they need longer and more difficult to get out of, and just, the team slowly sinks lower in the standings as this core ages, or whether they can speed the process up and make some progress. It is pivotal for this New York Islanders team to start making some of those moves. And of course, we'll have it for you every step of the way here on the Locked On Islanders podcast. We've got more to get to on today's show. We'll preview tonight's game at home against the Maple Leafs as we see Toronto for the third time in the last dozen days or so. Plus, we'll have our Islanders birthday of the day. We've got all that and more still to come on today's Locked On Islanders podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by your friends at FanDuel. The NFL playoffs are almost here, but it's not too late to get in on the regular season action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, new customers can finish the season with $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. And look, FanDuel has so many ways for you to pick up a W. I love betting on which players will score a touchdown and how many points each team will score. It is thrilling. And Islander fans, use your knowledge of the Islanders and the sport of hockey on FanDuel. Check out the latest odds for tonight's game against the Maple Leafs. Maybe you want to see if Matthew Barzal will score a goal or whether the Islanders will hold John Tavares in check. Check out the latest odds on FanDuel. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your chance at $250 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Thank you for making Locked On Islanders your first listen today. For your second listen, find Locked On Fantasy Hockey. Become a fantasy hockey expert and get the edge over your league mates with daily tips from Steal and Flip. Find Locked On Fantasy Hockey on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So, the Islanders and the Maple Leafs, part 3. Third time. These two teams are facing off in, the last dozen days or so. And the Islanders need to get into a groove. They need to bounce back in some way if they hope to salvage this season in any way, even if they hope to just salvage a chance to make the playoffs and get in the race, get back in the hunt. Right now, facing the Maple Leafs for the third time in 12 days, roughly. This is the rubber match. Islanders won the first meeting. Maple Leafs won the last one on New Year's Eve day. Now you've got the rubber match on the island a 7:30 Eastern time start. This is an ESPN Plus game, so no Butch and Brandon in this one, and hopefully, we survive that experience, to say the least. Maple Leafs, they are a solid team. They're 12th in the league in goals scored, 12th in the league in goals against. Special teams, significantly better than the Islanders. They're 11th on the PK, 81.5% efficiency. 19th on the power play, a little below average there, but their 20.5% conversion rate is double that of the New York Islanders. Now, Joseph Woll was the goalie against the Islanders. He did look a little shaken up at a couple of different points during that game, but he is the expected starter as of now. We'll double check his status, but we'll see. And Woll, 11-6-0 on the year, a 2.48 goals against average, and a 913 save percentage. The Islanders, the Maple Leafs, rather, they have Dennis Hildeby called up occasionally as the backup. They also have been known to go with Matt Murray, depending on when they think the backup goalie is going to be used. Anthony Stolarz remains out with an injury. The goal scorers, well, William Nylander leads the team with 23 goals. John Tavares next at 19. Mitch Marner, 38 assists in 38 games, also leads the team with 51 points. On the power play, William Nylander has 7 goals, John Tavares 6, Mitch Marner 5. Marner has 15 power play assists. So you could see this is a potent lineup. The line combinations as of now, top line, John Tavares, Max Pacioretty, and Mitch Marner. David Kampf, Matthew Nyes, and William Nylander are the second trio. Max Domi, Bobby McMahon, and Nicholas Robertson are the third line. And from left to right on the fourth line, Steven Lorentz, who hurt the Islanders on Tuesday afternoon, Connor Dewar, and the ever-physical Ryan Reeves. And I wonder if we see Matt Martin in the lineup against Ryan Reeves. On defense, Jake McCabe and Chris Tanev are the top pair. Morgan Riley and Philip Myers are the second pair. Simon Benoit and Oliver Ekman-Larsson are the third pair, but Ekman-Larsson kind of day-to-day right now. He missed Tuesday's game. We'll see if he's out there on Thursday night. Austin Matthews and Kalle Järnkrok and Anthony Stolarz still on IR. Pontus Holmberg listed as day-to-day, and we'll check his status for this game. Islanders, they need to play a 60-minute game. The thing is, the more we discuss a lot of these opponents and what the keys to the game are, the more they just keep being the same. And that is, the Islanders have to play inspired. They have to play 60 minutes. They have to avoid getting into the penalty box, and they have to play smart hockey and clear their own zone efficiently. Regardless of the opponent, these are things the Islanders have struggled to do all year, and it's something they need to straighten out if they hope to win tonight. All right, time for our Islanders birthday of the day, and, today is the 44th birthday of former Islanders center Zdeno Konopka, the Niagara-on-the-Lake, Ontario native, 6 foot, 213 pounds. Wasn't drafted, but made his NHL debut in 05-06 with the Anaheim Mighty Ducks after playing well for the Ottawa 67s of the Ontario League. Later played for the Blue Jackets and the Lightning before joining the Islanders for the 2010-2011 season. Had 2 goals, 9 points, and 307 penalty minutes while playing in all 82 games. After leaving the Islanders, played for the Senators, the Wild, and the Sabres before his career ended after the 2013-2014 season. Konopka played in 346 NHL games, 12 goals, 30 points, 1,082 penalty minutes, and 8 playoff games, none with the Islanders. He had 2 assists and 2 penalty minutes in those games. One of his better games as an Islander Islanders hosting the Maple Leafs at the Old Barn March 8th, 2011. And after a scoreless first period, as goaltenders James Reimer for Toronto and Al Montoya for the Islanders played well, Zenon Konopka, our Islanders' birthday of the day, got the scoring started 2 minutes and 15 seconds into the middle stanza. Milan Yurchina, and Justin DiBenedetto got the assists, and it was 1-0 Islanders. In the end, the game goes to overtime, and Blake Como of the Islanders wins it with less than a minute left on the clock. For our Islanders' birthday of the day, Zenon Konopka, he had a goal. It was an even strength goal, and he scored on one of his 2 shots in 7 minutes and 33 seconds of ice time. Montoya making 24 saves, but Zenon Konopka, a tough guy, a fourth-line physical forward who wasn't afraid to drop the gloves and defend his teammates, he is our Islanders' birthday of the day. I want to thank everyone who makes Locked On Islanders your first listen every day. Everydayers, we will be back on tomorrow. We'll have our key takeaways from the game against the Leafs. We'll also preview Sunday early evening's game against the Boston Bruins in Boston. So make sure you join us for that. If you have a question, a comment, maybe a topic you'd like us to discuss on a future episode, you can email us at lockedonislanders@gmail.com. And if you leave your first name and where you're from, we're happy to mention you on the show when we discuss whatever's on your mind. You could also follow the show on X at Locked On Isles, and you could follow me, Gil Martin, on X at Ice Wars, NYR, VSNYI. We'll keep you up to date on all things Islanders all year long, and I am live tweeting during nearly every Islanders home and road game. So join me for some instant insight and analysis. Have a great day, everybody. And again, a happy and healthy new year. Stay safe. And of course, let's go Islanders.